Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is the latest episode of the United Community Podcast. We've got a little bit of a different setup tonight. Unfortunately, my laptop absolutely packed it in about 20 minutes ago. So we've improvised, but we're here nonetheless. We've got Chris is with us. Desi is here as well. And Ben is here, and Oshin may be joining us later in the podcast if he can. But we've got plenty to talk about as always, guys. Please do smash a like in the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Alejandro Garnacho. We're going to talk about Dorgu. We're going to talk about Bruno Fernandes. We're going to talk about Amorim as well, and everything that's going on with Manchester United. Chris, I'll let you give us the first, I suppose, talking point that we've got there. And it's around Garnacho. Now, obviously, we had a bit of a discussion last night, didn't we, on the match reaction in relation to Garnacho, and subsequently, then over the last 24 hours or so, obviously, he put up a kind of a cryptic Instagram post last night, and he seemed to backtrack a little bit on it today, didn't he? In relation to, he put up another one saying, "Well done, boys, great 3 points." What's your thoughts, Chris, on the whole situation?
I mean, I think this is. I don't know how. I mean, Amorim was very cagey and funny when he talked about it. Because he was, in the press conference, he's like, "Oh, you guys want to relate this to a Rashford thing," and he goes, "We'll talk about it in the next press conference." But I don't love it at all. I mean, to walk straight down the tunnel. I mean, it's one thing if you go down the tunnel and maybe you change and you come back, but he never came back. It's like, and that's the thing. Like, I think this goes along with what we talked about in the match reaction of, is he too big for his britches right now? Does he think he's higher? Does he think he's a little bit farther along or higher in the pecking order where, he can do what he wants when he wants to? And, I don't love that. And I was going to make the joke that maybe he was just going down to keep Dorgu, company in the dressing room since, he got the card and, or maybe he's going down there to yell at him to be like, "Hey, because you got the card, now I got to come off." So, give him a little bit of stick. But I mean, I don't love it. It's not a good optic. And to be honest with you, there's no reason for it. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you took any other player off, would they go to the bench or would they go down the tunnel? I mean, you go to the bench. I mean, that's just
his idol Ronaldo a couple of seasons ago went straight down the tunnel.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem. And I think that's if it continue. I mean, granted, I'll give it to him that he's young, but you're gonna have to rein it in. You're really gonna have to. You're gonna. He may get benched or he may not. That's. Yeah. I mean, he may not play, but the second half of the next game or something because there's got to be discipline for that. Unless they come out with some reason that we're not thinking of, but I think there has to be discipline because you got to follow suit. You got to keep it consistent. And Amorim's always done that since he's been here. So, I'm kind of waiting to hear what's going on. I mean, personally, I don't love it.
Yeah, Desi, you weren't on the match reaction with us last night. What do you make of the whole situation? Obviously, he's had a little bit of a checkered history in relation to social media. He's liked posts in the past that have criticised his teammates and his managers and so on and so forth. And I was listening to Dean Saunders today on Talksport saying, he's going to ruin his career if he keeps going the way he's going. Would you be that extreme with it, or what's your view on it? Obviously, he's a young, talented boy that maybe thinks he's better than he is potentially.
Yeah, I don't agree with that attitude, Jack. I think I read did Ruben Amorim say when he was asked about it, did he say, or maybe he thought maybe it was because it was cold and raining or some stupid stuff like that?
And there was a video today that surfaced showing when Garnacho was coming off, he looked over to the bench and he grabbed his jersey and just made the gesture to, "I'm just going in to change my jersey," because it was lashing rain. But I mean, it's 2 minutes to half time.
Yeah, it's stinking attitude, Jack, from a young player. But in his defence, and I don't want to drag other players into it, but monkey see, monkey do, Jack.
Yeah.
And there's been a few players with their attitudes on this team that have changed sort of how we act and how we go about our business. Like you look at some of the other players with their Instagram posts, and I don't think any of that stuff should be involved in professional football, Jack. There has to be a professional side to where you don't. None of that shit should be coming out on Instagram or any crap like that. You know what I mean? You're getting paid very high wages. And like walking down the tunnel when there's 2 minutes to go till half time, spitting the dummy out, Jack. That's exactly what it was. And you can kind of take it as he was waving his short and all this. He spat his dummy out, and he's watched other players before him do it as well. And Anram is not going to take that kind of behavior anymore, Jack. And I don't think he should. We need to change the culture in this team, and I can't see him doing it again. I'll put it to you that way. He's kind of shot himself in the foot as well while doing that. I still think Jack, he's got great potential as a player, and we need to just change the mentality of the players and not to have all this stupid shit going on. As bad as the club's in, we don't need that on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Ben, obviously, again, you weren't with us on the match reaction, but what's your take on the whole situation? I do feel for him a little bit because he wasn't the worst player on the pitch. He was actually one of the best players on the pitch, and he looked very dangerous. And you can look right next to him when Highland is having another maybe stinker of a game, and why doesn't he get taken off? But I think Ruben Amram explained it quite well. If you're talking about set pieces, I'd rather have Highland on the pitch and so on and so forth. What do you make of the whole situation? Do you think maybe Garnacho's digging a hole for himself, or is it just maybe a little bit of naivety out of a young chap?
No, he's definitely digging a hole for himself. But to me, the issue is it should be the players sorting him out. Do you know, back in the day, the players would pull him up for it, wouldn't they, and say, you don't do that again.
Yeah.
It is like he spat his dummy out, and if he did that, can you imagine Roy Keane if he was in that side and he did that?
He'd be in the car.
What would he do to it? Yeah, exactly.
And that kind of goes back to what Desi is saying with standards. Yeah, go on, Desi.
Do you know what else though, Jack? When you look at remember Sexy, remember he come off? Remember he was taken off? Wasn't he taken off that time? Remember when everybody booed him? Like, that's a totally different scenario. Do you know what I mean? And I think Sexy walked down. His head was just gone, and he probably just didn't want to be there in that moment. Such a mortifying moment when your own fans are booing you off the pitch. But when we're going down to 10 men and the manager has to make a decision, to give even the manager more power, you come off and you just sit on the bench and show a bit of strength for the team. You're not being subbed because you're playing bad. You're not being subbed because he's just picking it out on you. He's doing it in terms of the team's perspective. But then to take that away from the team and put the fucking limelight on you is just bad sportsmanship in my eyes. And as Ben said, if Keane or Atton was in the squad or any sort of leader, none of this stuff would be happening. And when we look at our leader, because we'll be coming to him in a moment, I've said it, I'm on his case all the time. I thought he had a better performance last night, Jack, but it's not consistent enough. He looks at his leader on the pitch, throwing his hands up in the air, pointing the fingers, and acting like a child. That's where we're at. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah. Chris, go on? You're looking to get in there. What's your take on it?
As a player, you would hope that he looks at it and says, I mean, I understand he's mad. He's pissed off. He doesn't want to come off, but you have to give the manager a reason to keep you on the field. And that means you got to look at yourself and say, okay, and even Amarin said, he's our best player going one-on-one at pace with players and stuff like that. But the flip side of that is you're a defensive liability. And when you're down to 10 men, you can't have that liability on the field. So that, to me, that would be like, I have to be better. I have to go out and show him that I can do this. And then he becomes a well-rounded player. And then he doesn't come off the field. So it's on him. He has to look at it and say, because, I mean, in all reality, if he looks at himself and says, well, I'm better than so-and-so defensively, no, you're not. Like, you're you're off your rocker if you're, you know, because we've all said it. He's a defensive liability. He doesn't track back. He doesn't do what the Ahmad does when he played wing back. Like he doesn't. I'm not saying you got to go in and tackle people and do that, but you got to become a nuisance. You got to be in front of people. You got to make them turn away. You got to do the things that you can do to show that you need to stay on the field. And if that means you run your legs and with 10 men and you're running up and down the pitch, and you know, in the second half, maybe you do have to come out because you ran yourself out. That's fine. Like no one has a problem with that. It's just the fact that, you know, you don't want to pull, and I hate to say it, pull a Rashford and not track back and not do, because you can't afford to do that when you're down to 10 men.
Yeah.
But when you look at the team, Chris, when you look at where he's come in, I had a conversation with my grandfather earlier on the way home in the car. We were just saying, like, all the young players that we have now currently at the moment and the team that they're in, when they look around the dressing room and you look for the leaders and you go to training sessions where you look at, when we talk about tracking back and, you know, having people on your case where you look up to them and if they actually give out to you, take a bit of advice off them because they're actually doing what they're saying. I don't think we have that right now.
I agree.
Because any man that might say it to you on the field or even in a training session, the player in his mind knows you're not doing it half the time anyway. So I can't really take that as full value off you because you're not implementing it consistently. Like if Bruno Fernandes turned around to me, which will never happen anyway, but I'm just saying. And
Hey, Bruno, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what you doing here is right. No, but listen, if he turned around and he said, you're not doing your job, and let's say you were busting your socks, you take it with a pinch of salt because some of the times he doesn't do it himself. Whereas if it's the likes of Keane or Paul Scholes or Nicky Butt or all these old school players that raise the standards in training, raise the standards in a match where when they say it to you, it's coming from the heart and they're doing it and they want you to do it. He has come into a team that is crippled with mentality, who think they're bigger than the club, bigger than the club itself. And Garnacho shows signs of that. He thinks he's bigger than the club at times. He's never going to be bigger than Manchester United Football Club.
But I got to be honest.
Every player that comes in has to realise that shirt that you put on, you have to earn that. Despite whatever wages you're on or whatever the club offers you, you still have to prove to the fan base that you are worthy of wearing that shirt, regardless of what we have seen.
But you got to, and you know, I listened to Roy Keane and his rant about Bruno and everything like that. But at the same time, the one thing I can say is that, and again, we're outsiders looking in. We're not at Carrington. We're not seeing training. We don't know what goes on there and everything like that. But every manager that Bruno has been under has said that he's a consummate professional. The one thing that they say is what you said, Desi, throws his hands up in the air, gets, you know, it gets flustered and frustrated. But they all say that he works hard in training. He's on the field. He makes himself available. He's a consummate professional because he's doing the right things off the pitch. You don't see him on Instagram. You don't see, you know, I mean, very rarely. I mean, he is and everything like that. But, you know, as much as everybody wants there to be, as Keane and Righty were talking about, the Tony Adams, the Roy Keanes, I got to be honest, if you look through the Premier League, I don't see many of those guys, you know, on any of the other teams. So
I understand that though, Chris, but at the same time, to be the all-round leader of Manchester Football Club, your everything to the detail has to be right there. From your body language, throwing your hands up, that doesn't happen. You shouldn't be allowed to wear, and listen, you shouldn't be allowed to wear that captain's armband, and it shouldn't be allowed. You have to lead by example. And when you're in the trenches or when somebody's making a bad pass, and Bruno does it regularly, and I know I'm not going off Garnacho here, but kind of not, because he's still the leader of him. So when you see him doing that, that's not allowed. It doesn't matter how professional he is when he arrives at training and he turns up and he runs up and down. The minute he throws his hand up in the air or throws his dummy out of the pram, that throws all the good stuff he's done out the window, Chris, because he is the captain of our team, and to bring on all them young lads, he has to lead by example. So when the going's getting tough or when players are misplacing passes, don't throw your arms up in the air. Don't give out. Don't point the fingers at somebody. Even when he makes his own mistake, he tries to pull someone else in on it. Don't do that. Stick your chest out, wear the captain's armband, and do your job. Your job is to not show any signs of weaknesses, even when we're in trouble. And he doesn't do it enough.
I mean, I have to agree with that. I mean, I have to say that, you know, that's the one thing about Bruno that I really despise, is that when he does those antics. But I can also look at it and say, you know, I really admire who he is as a player and what he does. As far as, I mean, he's never hurt. Even when he is hurt, he plays, or he tries to play. And, you know, I mean, do we have the perfect leader? We don't. I mean, there's no debating that. We don't have the perfect leader, and I understand that. But at the same time, if you look at the squad, I mean, like you're alluding to, if Bruno wasn't the captain, not stripping him, but if you needed to pick one, I really don't know who you would pick.
We have no leaders. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
we don't actually have any leaders. So we have the likes of all these younger Garnachos coming in, Ahmad's, whatever you name it. And I'm not trying to say he's doing it, because he doesn't, but that's where it stems from, Chris. When they go into these places where these people who are supposedly supposed to be better and older than them and act professional don't act professional, they pick up on it.
Yeah.
And we want to mold Garnacho into the best player we can see of him. He's not going to do it in the current squad we have. And all that acting stuff that he done when he come off the pitch and down the tunnel, that only epitomizes what goes on in the club to me, and what different players are like in and around the team. That's Aaron has come out and said it. When you look at the Rashford situation, we did say from the start he's going to sort the men out from the boys. And I still think he's in that scene now at the minute. He's in between figuring out who is the men and the boys here.
Who we can trust.
Really is. He's still in that phase.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Oshin is in the comments. He says, I agree to disagree with Desi, but we need to stop yearning for Scholes Keens. They're long gone. There are no more captains like that anywhere anymore. If we're talking about captains, Cantona had a touch of petulance about him too. Thing is, he worries around Keane, etc. But yeah, we don't have him anymore. But the thing about it is I think Bruno Fernandes, you know, if he was the captain of a successful Manchester United side, I think he would probably get a lot less flack. The team in general will get a lot less flack. And a lot of people I see are saying today that Bruno Fernandes is a great player, not a great captain. You know. And I do think that there is a kind of and I fall into this bracket as well, where I want to see a captain like a Keane, you know, like a Vieira, like a Tony Adams, like a John Terry, whatever the case may be. But then, I mean, what Oshin says there, I don't think there's too many of them around anymore. Like, I would love nothing more than Ugarte to be having the captain's armband and leading us out. You know what I mean? But he also sticks up his middle finger at every second person he passes. You know what I mean? So you've got to weigh up the good with the bad. I think Bruno Fernandes is, outside of maybe the petulance that we see, I do think he is a good captain. I think he does lead by example in a different way. You know what I mean? Now, I don't like the looking for fouls. I don't like the screaming at referees, you know, whinging and moaning for everything. But that's just the way the modern game is, to be quite honest with you. And that's no excuse for it, really. But Bruno Fernandes' stats just do not match up with anyone else in the league since he's been here. You know, he's head and shoulders above everybody. You know, is there a case, Ben, where he's maybe underappreciated a little bit by Manchester United fans? Like, do we maybe take him for granted? Because, you know, someone had a graphic up today that without Bruno Fernandes' contributions this season, I think we'd be teetering around the relegation, the 17, 18 positions. So is he a little bit underappreciated?
I think he is a little bit, personally. But it's same as that, though. He plays in different positions. He's played out on the wings for us, hasn't he? And he shouldn't be playing there, should he? Yeah. I know we had options there, but he does go out there and do that. But to me, you've got to play him where he played. Play him in that number 6 role where he's got a bit of freedom. Because last night, yeah, he was one of the best players on the pitch, but you don't see it enough. But he's got to play there to be that player, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
If
he's
he's going
kind
to
of
be
like a
consistent, we
victim.
can't be swapping him round, can we?
Yeah, he's kind of a victim of his own success, really, where he's actually decent at playing a number of different positions. A kind of a Phil Neville, John O'Shea kind
Yeah,
of character, like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
What's your thoughts on it, Desi? Like, you know, I mean, if Bruno Fernandes was to go in the summer, you'd have to spend probably 100 million to try and replace him, surely.
Jack, I don't want Bruno Fernandes to go.
Yeah,
All I'm saying is to bring us to the next level, cut that part of his game out. The
yeah,
rest of it's there. I never said he's a bad player. I never said he can't do anything for the club. All I'm saying is that right now, when we really need him, and we need him to take it up to the next level, when the going's getting tough, because it's there. He can be the best leader on the pitch, but get rid of that side of your game right now, because we don't need to see it, and especially for when we're struggling so bad at times in certain games. And then, as you said, he's getting onto the referee for certain free kicks where he probably nearly knows himself it's not a free kick. Don't do that. Just get on with the game and just be a leader on the pitch. And yes, I agree with Ben sometimes. He does need to just be staying in that position to get the best out of him. Last night, Jack, was probably one of his best performances.
yeah,
Like, I mean, he was running up and down like mad. Like, I
yeah,
think he won the ball back once towards the end of the game, and he went on a long bust and run with the ball, and you
yeah,
could see him. He was knackered, but he still managed to get whatever he had in him to get back, and that's what you want. Like, do you know what I mean? When
yeah,
when he's in the zone and he's in it and he's on it, he's a different player. So just get rid of that side of the game. I don't want to see him go. Trust
yeah,
me, I don't.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But the thing about it is, though, Chris, you know, when we're talking about captains, bar maybe one or two clubs, like who's the Bournemouth captain, Chris? Do you have any idea? Because I don't. Who's the Newcastle captain? Who's the West Ham captain? Probably Jared Bowen. You know, the captains
Jared
don't
Bowen.
stand. Captains don't stand out anymore. Is the point I'm trying to make? You know what I mean? Like back in
No, only a certain number. I mean, only a certain number of players stand out, and even the ones that stand out, I can't say they're great captains.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the only one that I don't want to say his name, but I mean, the only one that I can really say that stands out that really leads the team is Virgil van Dijk, and I don't love him, but I mean, he commands the respect.
Yeah,
of his players.
But let's also talk about that for a second, because Virgil van Dijk is the first fucking one in the referee's face every time Liverpool get a free against him. You know what I mean? Now, he doesn't throw his hands up in the air and he doesn't have a whingy face on him, but he's doing it. You know what I mean?
You have to. And I think Bruno would get murdered if he wasn't in the referee's face on those free kicks. I think the flip side would happen. Oh, he's too passive. Oh, he's not standing up for guys. Oh, he's, I think it's a lose-lose situation there. Now, do I agree with Desi that some of the petulance and stuff? Yes, I want that to go. But as a captain, he needs to be in the referee's ear. He needs to be there, and he needs to, try to command that. And I mean, that's part of it. And I mean, even when I played, our captains were, and I was a captain of a team where you have to go talk to the referee about stuff. You have to calm things down. You have to, try to urge him to, hey, this guy's, look what this guy's doing. He's hooking, he's doing this, he's doing that. Sometimes you're like, you got to stand there and be like, don't listen to him. You're pushing players away because they're going to get, their mouth's going to get them in trouble, and everything like that. So, I mean, that
was me for years.
I mean, let's be honest. It's a thankless job, to be honest, because you got bar everything that you have to do yourself on the field. You got to take care of the other 10 guys on the field. Like, I mean, when Onana makes a mistake, he can't be running in Onana's face to rip him a new one. I mean, at some point, at certain times you gotta know when to say something and know when not to say something. It's a thankless job sometimes, because there's sometimes you can do no matter what the situation, there's not a right way to do it. You just do what comes naturally to you. And I think that's the problem. He's Portuguese. They're a little bit more animated. If you watch most of the Portuguese players, they all kind of have the same little petulance to them. There's not many that don't. I mean, unless you go back to Luis Figo or someone like that. But other than that, the new age of the Portuguese team, if you watch them, they throw their hands up, and I think that's just a new player. You know, like I mean, you look at Arsenal, their captain Martin Odegaard. You hardly even see him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's tough. I mean, is he undervalued? Yes, because Bruno is undervalued because you can take him as a manager and you can sit there and say, "Hey, I need you to play the wing," like Ben said. I need you to play the 10. I need you to play a false 9 for me. I need you to play the 6. I mean, and does he do it? Yes. Does he give everything he can when he does it? Absolutely. And it's probably a lot better than what some of the guys on the bench would do if you tried to put him in, you know, put a bench player in. He's probably doing a better job than those guys. So, I mean, undervalued as a player. That's why when I listened to Keane this morning, I was just like, you know, you're very one-sided in this thing, and you're very one-sided, and you want him to be you, and he's not you, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and there will never be anyone like Keane.
There won't be.
That's the problem.
I mean, we've all probably played for someone that, I mean, everybody just feared Roy Keane. Even the other team feared Roy Keane. Like, I can't even think of a player in the Premier League now that people fear like they feared Roy Keane or a John Terry or
Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah, or a Vieira or anything like that. It's the players aren't the same anymore.
Yeah.
But
And the game is
last
not the
night,
same. Yeah, sorry, go on.
but last night, why was he one of the best players on the pitch?
Discipline.
Because
That's exactly it, Chris, because last night he didn't show any of that side of his game. And when we were down to 10 men, he was doing exactly what you would want to see. We're not going to see Roy Keane, we all know that. But at the same time, when we're down and out, and when we're down to 10 men, he didn't throw his toys out of the pram every 3 or 4 seconds when something went wrong. He got up and he got on with it. And he led. And that brings out the best in the other player. You might not think it. You might just think, well, he's just the captain. He means something on the pitch to other players.
I don't disagree with that.
When he's not throwing the duty out of the pram, everybody else is doing their job. And when you're in a football match and you look around, you see him and he's after doing a 40-yard run. He won the ball back, plays 1-2, does a 40-yard run, and then he's running backwards after losing the ball or went out and play. I don't know what happened, but I can't remember now. That just gives you that little bit more in you. We said it a while back when we seen Rashford not running back. It feeds off onto the other players. They don't want to do it, but when he does do it, we seem to get more out of the players in behind them because
and it gets the crowd going as well.
Yeah. That's what I feel last night when I say that about him. I always see when he has his best performances is when that part of his game is not there. When it's not happening during the game, the best side of Bruno comes out, and we need that regularly, not every couple of weeks or every second week. We need it every week, and that it's in him. So just that's all I'm saying. When you look around, you see all the captains. You can't really name many of them, but he's the captain of Manchester United, and that's all that matters to us as fans. And right now, he needs to keep playing that way, like he did last night, and it will bring us on immensely. You might not think it, but it will.
Yeah. I think the other part of it is we have to take this in consideration. If you look at the team, who are the 2 most senior players on that team? It's Maguire and Fernandes. Everybody else is within a year and a half. I mean, besides those 2 guys. And so it's going to take time. And I understand Bruno busts his butt and he makes the run, and maybe someone doesn't make the pass that he thinks they're going to make. It's because, and we've all been there, they're not on the same page yet. They're not all thinking the same. And if Bruno's making this run, I know where he's going to be. I'm going to play the ball here. And if Bruno's like, I'm going to make this run because I know Mazraoui is going to be able to serve me the ball, or, because if you go back and you think, back in the days of Nicky Butt and Scholes and Giggs and Beckham, they all came through together. They played together for how long? And they knew how each other played. You look at Ugarte. Ugarte's new. Just came in this summer. De Ligt, new. Mazraoui, new. Xerxes, new. Dorgu, brand new. I mean, everybody is new. So, everybody's still trying to feel themselves a little bit. And I think that everybody's kind of glossing over that, it's just not, it's got to take some time,
Yeah. It always takes time to feel yourself. It always does. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Sorry.
That's going to get a million views on Spotify right there.
She says, I don't think Bruno helps himself. He tries the dangerous ball, the creative ball, which helps us, but he also ignores the simple 5-yard pass when we need to keep it simple. Absolutely. That's my frustration with him. Chris, what we got next on the list? I'm after forgetting the talk of my side. I had them all on my laptop, but that's obviously fried.
Everybody's going to love this one. Is it Onana?
Onana, right.
Time to sell. Is it time to sell, or is 2 years enough time to judge the player?
Yeah, so I always say that every player deserves 2 years. You know what I mean? 2 seasons. And I think, I was quite steadfast on that with Anthony after a terrible first season. No, let's give him a second one. But halfway through maybe the first season, you kind of have a good idea of what you're dealing with. I've been quite supportive of Onana over the last few weeks online and on Twitter and on Instagram and TikTok and so on and so forth. And I'm getting absolute pelters from lads that, I called idiots a year ago because they wanted to sell him after, 6 months of being at the club. And my response is always, well, if that was the case, you would have sold Ronaldo after 12 months in 2004. And where would that have got you? But Desi, what's your opinion on Onana? It's I think it's do or die now, really, isn't it?
I'd like to check his betting accounts from last night. That's what I
Allegedly.
Yeah, did switch the score first. I don't know, Jack. I still like him. I don't know why. He's having a raw deal at the minute. He doesn't help himself.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, but it is. Look, I'd say just stick with him for another year.
Okay, Ben.
Ouch. That hurts.
See, I think the issue is it's more you'd sell and get a new keeper in, but we aren't in that situation to do that, are we? Money wise.
Yeah, there's higher priorities.
Yeah, which he's got till the end of this season, which ain't got a lot of it left, but he's got to prove something to make sure that he's worthy of the shirt, though, hasn't he? In my eyes.
Yeah.
So well, Chris, he hasn't got much time left.
He hasn't got much time left. No, you're right. But Chris, I mean, he actually had a very, very good first couple of months, 2 or 3 months to start the season. And we were going, right, okay, lovely. We give him the time. He's settling in nicely now, and I think he's made 3 or 4 like world-class double saves this season. But the mistakes continue to come, and you can kind of, even from watching it on the TV, and I've been in Old Trafford once this season, and there is that nervousness when he gets on the ball. Like, there's always a mistake right around the corner with him.
I just, honestly, I thought he would be better. As big as he is, I thought he would challenge on crosses better. I thought he would come off his line better. I mean, and I've been very vocal about it. Like, and I tinkered and played goalkeeper and everything, and his positioning is awful. I mean, if you really watch his positioning, it's awful. It's really, really bad. His angles are bad. And my problem with him is twofold. One, he seems to be making the same mistakes all the time. Like in the Champions League last year, when the ball's coming in on that cross, like when Hutchinson scored that goal, it's the same mistake. Like, he's not challenging. He's reacting to a ball that he should be coming out and just murdering. And like, he's one of the biggest guys on the pitch, and he plays small. And the other thing is, everybody talks about how he's such a good ball playing goalkeeper. Like, has anybody really paid attention to when he plays the ball out? Like, yeah, it goes far down the field, but it never goes to someone. And it's not pinpoint. Like, it's not like, I mean, I feel bad for Højlund sometimes because when he tries to hit him, it's sometimes 5 yards off of him. Like, it's not even
Yeah,
close.
I think the ball playing side of his game is more so just the comfort levels that he has on the ball and sucking in maybe a striker and being that extra man to play out in your little triangles. But we don't do that often enough, I think.
No, we don't. And maybe maybe I'll leave the pushback on that one. But like when he plays his long balls, they're bad. They're not even close to players sometimes. Like, and that's fine. I mean, if that's what he's trying to do, I don't know. I'm not in his head. So it's like, if he's just like, all right, I'm gonna punt it down the field, or I'm gonna kick it down the field, and we're gonna reset and stuff like that. Maybe that's what happens. But then again, like we say, we lose possession when he does that. I mean, most of the time when he has the ball at his feet, if he doesn't play it short, we lose possession when he plays the ball long. And that's just something that I've seen. Yeah. And as you said, Jack, he's made a couple world-class double saves and everything like that. But I'll push back on that and say, can you name me a goalkeeper that doesn't have moments like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's what he's there for. He should have those moments, but he should have less of the bad mistakes, because like I said, for me, it's he's making the same mistakes, and that's my problem.
I think the big letdown for me was that we cashed in on De Gea for what we thought was going to be a very higher upgrade, and it doesn't seem to be. You know what I mean? Because I liked De Gea. You know what I mean? He was he was flawed, like the majority of players are, and he had mistakes in him, but he was world class when he wanted to be. Yep. And I don't think Onana has been world class at all over the last 2 years. And I think
De Gea go through a rough patch as well.
He did, of course he did. And I think that was one of the main reasons why he was moved on at the end of Ten Hag's first season, was because of the last maybe 2 or 3 months he had. You know,
that's a problem with goalkeepers, though, isn't it? That they're always remembered for the mistakes that they made.
Yeah.
Like you said, Onana's world-class saves. Try and remember the world-class saves it has made, and then think about the mistakes it has made. I guarantee you'll remember more mistakes than saves it has made.
Yeah, but what's the alternative then? If Onana is to go, do you go out and get Diogo Costa or someone like that? I don't think someone of that kind of ilk is going to come to Manchester United. I hear actually Man City are being linked with him. And they're potentially going to move Ederson on in the summer. But I think it gets put on the back burner, to be honest with you. I think there's more priorities. Go on, Chris.
I think that as much as I don't want to admit it, I think we're kind of stuck with him at this moment. If we're lucky, someone wants to come in and buy him for some unknown reason, and that's fine. But at the same time, I think you just have to open up the competition and put Bayender and let him have an opportunity at this point, because with Onana's play in the recent month, like, it doesn't warrant saying, oh, he's our guy, he's our number one. I mean, if Bayender wasn't injured, I think Bayender plays last night. I mean, I honestly do. I think that Amrin this summer, if we end up keeping him, which I think we will, because being where we are monetarily and everything like that, I think it's going to be an open competition. And Bayender's not bad with his feet. Is he as good as Onana with his feet? No, but I'll live with that, because that's just a player. That's just a playing adjustment. You just got to know who's behind you in goal and be, and understand, like, I mean, in college, I played with a guy that our coach looked at us and said, don't ever pass the ball back to him. He can't play with his feet at all. I'm like, what do you mean at all? He's like, no, don't even. You go kick it out of bounds. Like,
we had a lad like that in our team in 1 year, except he plays centre midfield.
But I mean, I just think, I would like, if we could sell him and let Bayender, again, and I say this saying, he's not a long-term. Bayender's not a long-term answer.
Yeah,
but I think if you stick with Bayender and you let him play, and then you could bring in a younger goalkeeper, not a Diego Costa or something. I think the one guy that I saw links to is the Espanyol keeper, the Spanish keeper. He's a younger guy. Maybe you bring in someone at a low fee, and you have an open competition at that point. I mean, because right now, I mean, like you said, Jack, you hit the nail on the head. Every time he gets the ball or anytime a cross comes, everybody goes.
Do you know what?
No.
It just makes you realize how good a piece of business getting Van der Sar was to United at like 36 years of age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how calm of a presence he was, and just professional. And I think was it Rio Ferdinand said he was the only ever keeper he played with who didn't lose his head all the time. Was very calm. Would even if it was a mistake was made, right next one, and would get it right then. And what a goalkeeper he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I want to move it on and talk a little bit for the last maybe 5 minutes or so. Ruben Amram, Desi, obviously, you weren't on the match reaction with us last night, but are we starting to see now? Because I was, even though it was a close game and it was a kind of a topsy-turvy game, we went behind, got the lead, went level, went in the lead again. I thought there was moments within the game where we looked quite assured, looked quite positive, looked like we knew what we were doing for the first time in a long time. Are we seeing, and maybe I've asked you this before, but are we seeing maybe the traces of what Ruben Amram wants from this team? Is it starting to come through a little bit? Maybe it's the fact that we're down to 10 men and backs are to the wall, but I thought the performance had a bit of structure to it.
It did. But again, Jack, what can this man do if we give him fire and power?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we did see glimpses of it. But he's playing with broken parts at times. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna stand by him all the time. I think we have got one of the best coaches in the world. We have to back him. We have to back this man. And last night, what we seen glimpses. So if we give him the right tools for the right period of time, he's gonna fix the problem. That's the way it's gonna happen, Jack. And we're gonna have to be patient, go through that roller coaster ride like we are now. We don't know how long it's gonna last, especially with the financial situation. But if we can just stick by him and keep trucking along, and as he starts to pick up the pieces to his puzzle, I think we will definitely see what this guy is really about. Because with the team that he has now, his hands are slightly tied, and we can see certain glimpses of stuff where we're like, oh, that actually looks really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, it's there. There is light at the end of the tunnel for this man if we give him the right players, I think.
Yeah. Chris, would you double down on that? I mean, he's a very honest coach, you know what I mean? And he's quite clearly saying to us that, we're not good enough at the moment, and certain, a lot of aspects have to improve. Do you think he will be that honest when we start to win games?
Yeah. Because I don't think he doesn't hide from anything, and he's very honest, which I like. I mean, you look at the situation that he came into. Rashford, Garnacho benches him for the Derby game and gives the reason. Rashford doesn't see the field again because he gave the reason. And I think he's very open, he's very honest, and I think people hate that. Like, I think the media hates that because they want something else, and he won't.
They want to hate them, but they just can't.
No, it's hey, he's not training well enough. I mean, and we've all been down that road, and you see a player, you're like, well, look at him. What's he doing? It's just like, but I think, like Desi says, you back him, you give him the right players, you give him the right pieces. I mean, look what he's done in the last 3 weeks with Dorgu. Like, before he got sent off, we were bombing down the left side. Like, we were doing what Euro and Dorgu and Garnacho and stuff. We were making things happen down the left side. It looked like what we want, and I think, like Desi said, you give them the players, and can you imagine now all of a sudden we can do that down both sides, and we, and now you don't know where it's going to come from and everything. I think that I've always said it, and I said it in the summer, I wanted him, and, because of the way he plays. If you watch him when he was at Sporting, the way that team played, like, that's what you want. That's That's new modern football, and that's the way we need to play. All these other pundits, oh well, we need to, and all these other guys, oh, you need to change formations. No, you don't. No, you really don't. Because, and I have this with my friends here. We have this big discussion because he's like, oh well, we need to win games. Why? Do we need to win games to get to 11th? Because that's as good as we're gonna get. You know, I mean, like I honestly think that he needs. I love the fact that he stayed the course and he's going to stay with his guns and he's going to say this is the way we play, because you have going into the summer. He's going to know exactly what he has out of every player. Because if you change systems and you play a different way, and then all of a sudden in the summer you want to go back to what you were playing, what you want to play, you're not going to have a true evaluation of the players that you have. Yeah. And I think that, you know, he's setting precedents. Guys, this is what we want. This is how you need to play. This is how you need to run. You need to do these things. You need to do that. And I think guys are looking around going, this is going to be a little bit harder than I anticipated. Like, this guy's for real. Like, you know, and I think that's the way you need to do things. That's the right way to do things. And I think if he gets the players that he wants, and like Desi said, in the positions that he needs, I mean, is it all going to happen in one window? No. I mean, even if, let's just say he gets 3 players that he wants next window, it's going to get better. You know, you're going to have a full off season with him and he gets the players that he wants. You know, it's going to get better. Is it going to be great? Probably not, but it's going to get better. You're going to see things progress, and you're going to see, I mean, again, everybody's going to have off days here and there, and we all know that. But at the same time, you know, he's not afraid to just say, no, you're not good enough. Come off.
Yeah.
You know,
but again, we go back to what we said before. It's patience more than anything.
Yes,
the one thing though, when you look at Anram, you have to really look at what he came into.
Yes.
Like, he's come into a club that's probably been so toxic in the background, Jack. He's to iron out the mentality. He's to iron out the effort in training. He's to then implement his own style in play, where some players are in the idea that they don't believe any manager can change this scenario at Manchester United. So he's slowly starting to turn the screw. Players are starting to get popped out on the way in, and it doesn't matter what ways it's going to go. As we said before, as Chris just said, he is going to stick to his idea. The best thing about a coach is if his idea is really clear. So it's really clear. The players know exactly he's not going to change this the way he wants me to play this. He's not going to change it. That's the best thing for a player, because there's not 10 different ways. He hasn't got plan B, plan C, you know what I mean? It's very clear cut. It's very easy to understand what he wants from you.
Yeah.
Now, some players might not be able to match what he wants, but you have to look at Anram and consider what he's come into, what he has to deal with. That's what pisses me off when I see him in all these interviews. Like, they just look at him, oh, he's Man United manager. Yeah, but look at the situation of the club at the minute.
Yeah.
Man United's not the Man United they were. If he had to come in during the Ferguson years, like, that's a different scenario altogether.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So we have to give him time. We have to let him to fix certain things, and that's going to take time in itself. Off training, off all those other things that he has to sort out first, with players' attitudes and mentality and all that crap, application and how you speak to other players during training sessions. Give him time and start to give him the pieces along the way, and watch. We will turn. There's no doubt about it. We will see a different United team, I believe, anyway.
I think a good example for it now, sorry. I think a good example of it is Harry Maguire. Look how he's playing now.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah, professionalism, put your head down, work hard.
We've got an identity, and he knows what he needs him to do, and it's what Harry Maguire does, isn't it, best?
Yeah, yeah. It's all down to Gareth Southgate, if you ask me. Anyway, boys, I appreciate you as always.
Thank you.
And yeah, look, we'll have our watch along on the weekend for the Fulham game as well. So I'm gonna go and try and fix my laptop, because I've got to work in the morning as well. Someone has to pay the bills. But come on, look, appreciate coming on as always, guys. And I'll chat to you during the week. All right.
You got it.
Thanks,
Catch you later.
Thanks everybody for watching as well, guys. If you haven't done so already, do hit that subscribe button. Do hit the like button as well. Apologies about the setup tonight. My laptop is completely gone. So if anyone's listening to audio, you don't have to worry. But yeah, if you are listening to us on Spotify, please do give us a 5-star review as well. It helps us out an awful lot. But thanks for listening, guys. And I'll chat to you next week. Take it easy.